So I got involved with that whole thing too. Also in 1983, I'm very proud of that. We did the National Gay Pride Coordinators Conference, of which I brought the booklet here too. And instead of all of us in different cities trying to work out all these problems on our own, they all got together, I believe the first year in '82 in Boston. And they got together and shared their ideas. Well, Doug Moore says, hey, let's do it here in San Diego. And of course, that's a wonderful city. We had 10 or 12 cities represented, and I was really excited to meet all these people. And Doug put the whole thing together, but I was just his right-hand man. I helped organizing things, and I was in charge of the food committee. You know, it was at MCC, which at that time was on 30th Street. And the Sunday night dinner, the wrap-up of the whole thing, was a beautiful banquet at the Cafe Del Rey Moro, and they had Romanowski and Phillips, which were these two great singers out of San Francisco, and their star power, and the songs that they sang about gay rights, and they were funny, and it was just a complete changing experience for me. So I'm really proud in '83 of helping out with the National Gay Pride Coordinators Conference. And then the fundies. And right now, all these years later, I can't really remember why the fundies were such a big event, why they were so riled up that year. And it's sort of funny. I'm a fundamentalist Christian, and yet here come the fundies. You know, but it made me so proud of being gay, because we were happy and they were scathing and said God's going to send us to hell and so on and so forth. And I remember that there was a meeting before the parade and rally, this big meeting at MCC. And we were discussing, you know, what should we do about the fundies? They're planning on showing up, 200 of them or 300, and going to, you know, yell at us and all that kind of stuff. And I quietly stood up and raised my hand, and I said, you know, what about a buffer zone in between us and these marching people? And it was just a little suggestion. And what I was mainly concerned about was confrontation. I'm big on first appearance. I'm big on that we get our message across in a peaceful, loving kind of a way. And I didn't want the news media to show confrontation. I remember after I came home so proud of watching the march in '79 or '80, or maybe it was the first parade in '81, you know, that was through Balboa Park. And I was so proud, and I read the San Diego Evening Tribune the next day, and it said, oh, the Gay Pride Parade was the day before, and they had 3,000 people. And it showed one picture, and it was one guy leading another guy around in a dog chain or something. And that was their depiction of the Gay Pride Parade. And so I'm thinking, wait, this is '84. I don't want to have this wonderful parade and all the effort that we've done for our 10th anniversary, and all they're going to show is a confrontation. So my little suggestion, wouldn't you know, the creativity in our community is wonderful. Someone took that and turned it into the Fundy Fighters. And these were a group of volunteers, and I have a picture of us here marching from the rally beforehand to march up and stand between them. The Fundy Fighters stood out about 10 feet or so out on the sidewalk. The police were there with their horses, and we stood between. Well, here we're down there, and the parade starts, and someone else suggested, hey, when all the parade contingents, when they get down there, right before they get there, we're going to blow a whistle. And as soon as we blow the whistle, everyone turn your head. So here's the Fundies. Here's the Fundy Fighters, our peaceful people with their backs to the Fundies, all the Fundies yelling and all this stuff, and we turn our head and don't even look at them. We don't even give them any attention at all. What a great way to piss off a Fundy. I mean, they were outrageous, and yet we showed only smiling, only happy, only peaceful people. It was a very proud moment of that whole Fundy thing. And to sum up another thing, in '84, you know, you always take a few days off beforehand, and you're just absolutely exhausted. I remember in '84, I probably didn't sleep for 2 days beforehand. You get calls at 4 in the morning, you're out doing things, you're delivering things, you're at fundraisers, you're meeting different people. You know, I was in charge of the festival, and one of the booth rentals, they couldn't get their booth set up in time, and I had to go down there and work electricity. You know, it's just nonstop. So it was the rally. It was before, I think back then, correct me if I'm right or wrong, John, but we had the parade, and then they emptied into the rally area. And so you had the rally there, and I have a picture of it, actually. I brought it, I was able to find. And the stage was all set up, and it was a big flag behind. And it was a wonderful setting. And as a board member, I was up there with Nicole and all these other people. And all these people were out there, and the keynote speaker was not there. And Nicole turns to me and says, David, do something. People are going to start leaving unless we do something. I said, well, what do you want me to do? And he said, we'll do anything. So I got up there, and it came to my mind. I said, would you all stand and let's sing the Star-Spangled Banner? And here, my hoarse throat and stuff, but we all sang, thousands of people, the Star-Spangled Banner. And wow, still brings, still brings chills. That's what appeared the next day in the paper, was a photographer behind me looking out at all of these people, and we're all singing the Star-Spangled Banner. It was, like I said, I never wanted to be in the limelight, but there were certain times when you're just thrust into that. What a wonderful way to end our 1984 experience, the Fundy Fighters being on the festival. So after '84, I said, hey, I've done 3 years of Pride. I've given my effort 24 hours a day. I'm going to take some time off. He's a good listener, but then he gets things done. So he's a background kind of a person, and yet without him, how would we have gotten that done? I brought up earlier about the $5,000. That was done in a, I mean, when the event was all over, I turned around and handed him back the $5,000. So he had that, you know, there was no risk involved there. But without him, how could we have, you know, to get a permit and to, when I rented that $3,000 worth of tents, that takes a deposit. That takes $2,500 or whatever. You have to do all that up front to rent all these things and do the booths and everything there. So without his seed money, we could not have done. But also, I remember back in earlier years, the parade, whoever changed, I'm sure it was probably Doug Moore, whoever thought, wait, let's change this from a march for our rights to a parade, a celebration, because that was really momentous and thinking far-reaching. Because right now, what are we doing? We're celebrating. We're still having like a march where we have the political part out there, and we have the rally. I'm glad that we do. But they changed that. And I remember WCPC's float was always the last one. It was the most extravagant. It was the biggest. It had the cutest guys on there, you know, doing their little disco things. And so he always supported it that way too. And in '82 and '83, when we had it down there, in '84, always provided us these things, and also the beer companies were big supporters of us. But he mediated between lots of times. Chris and I would go out to well, not Coors at that time, we were boycotting Coors, but we would go out to the beer companies, and he would negotiate for us to get the beer half price or free or something like that, and the tappers that we had to pay for, and so he did that whole thing. I could have never known how to put all of that together. So his gentleness, his force, and plus sitting on the board, he was on the board of the Pride Association, and he would listen, and then he would come up with a great suggestion. Now, when we had $8,000+ to do, we sat back a few weeks later, and he was really the catalyst to say, you know, I really believe we should help this AIDS organization, or it wasn't called AIDS then. I don't know. We still maybe were calling it the gay disease at that time, but we were helping, you know, these different organizations. And let's give $100 to the men's course. Well, $100 back then was a lot of money, or maybe we gave them more or something. So he was a catalyst in helping us disperse all of that kind of stuff. He's always been a solid rock in the community, but you won't see him on the front page of the paper a lot. He's a mover and a shaker that everyone knows, always there to help. Oh, another thing too, how do we raise money as volunteer organizations? We put out little publications, you know, or a little flyer. You could go to him and say, Chris, would you place an ad in this? Sure. He placed an ad, that's $125, that helps our coffers. He was always yes to everything, so he's a saint in my eyes.